I just got out of seeing Rambo Last Blood. I mean, as in literally, now 5 minutes ago. You can't see it, but this is a car video. Completely unprepared, unscripted. So here I'm just going to give you my general impressions of Rambo Last Blood. There will be no spoilers, no detailed analysis, just my impressions on whether or not the movie is any good. First of all, this is a movie I've been looking forward to for a very long time. As you may be aware, I'm a huge fan of the Rambo franchise, so I've really been looking forward to this movie. I was a little bit nervous going in, because the previous one, the one just called Rambo, was so good, and it ended on such a high note that I was worried. How can they possibly top that? How can you do another Rambo movie without kind of like undermining what happened towards the end of the last one? The only way that they could do it was by not topping it, but going a completely different direction. Basically, give us Rambo's Unforgiven. Or if you're not familiar with Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven, then give us Rambo's Logan. And that's kind of what they've done here. This is a more of a Western movie in some sense. And it's very different compared to the other movies. This one really stands out compared to the rest, both story-wise, tonally, pacing-wise. Overall, though, I think it worked, and it was successful in what it tried to do. Story-wise, the movie is perfectly fine. I'm not going to get into any spoilers, but I will say that the story is perfectly straightforward and simple and just right for a Rambo movie. However, the movie is not without issue. I think this movie is going to be far more divisive than the previous one, and many people probably won't like it nearly as much. And I think that's going to be down to the pacing, because the pacing of this movie was the one thing that was off. I felt that it needed more work in the editing bay. If we go back to Rambo First Blood, then the original cut of that movie was 3 hours long, overly long and boring, and the whole movie didn't work because of it. We've gone through this several times before. If you've seen some of our early Rambo videos, you know this story. Basically, I feel that this movie could have needed some of that treatment, because this one is really, I'm not going to say that it's long, but it feels long. It feels very slow paced. This, of course, is intentional because it tries to set a very different tone and a very different mood than the previous movies. But I still feel it could have benefited from a slightly faster pace. That's really the one negative thing I have to say about it, that it needed some more work in the editing bay. I don't feel that they were quite there with the release version of this movie. Fan editors probably can work a lot with this by making select trims here and there. Overall, though, the story is what it needed to be. It's very dark. It's very depressing, much more so than any previous Rambo movies. Of course, this is a very depressive subject matter. I'm not going to say anything about what happens or how it ends or anything like that. The only thing I will say, and this isn't much of a spoiler really, to get the full benefit of the movie, you just have to do this. Towards the end, there's a montage. And you may be tempted to leave during this montage. Don't. Stay till the end of it. That's all I'm going to say. Overall, I think that this was a solid entry into the Rambo franchise, and I enjoyed it a great deal. I don't know where this movie is going to rank compared to the other Rambo movies just yet. It's definitely not going to be in the top two. Both First Blood and the one just called Rambo are better than this. How it compares to First Blood Part 2 or Rambo 3, I don't know yet. I have to digest it a little bit more. It's a very different movie. It's difficult to compare. So I'm curious to hear what you all think when you get around to seeing it. I'm sure that we'll be talking about this more in a roundtable in the very near future, but until then, let me know if you plan on seeing Rambo, and if you have seen it already, what did you think about it? I'll be curious to hear your thoughts, so let me know in the comments.